Now, some 4 million people are in the firing line of Tropical Cyclone Alfred, which is slowly making its way towards the coast.
The warning zone stretches from Queensland's Double Point Island right down to Yamba in New South Wales and includes heavy populated areas like Brisbane, which is where Emma is right now. Emma, how are people preparing?
Well, the lineup for people trying to collect sandbags is huge, and scenes here in Newmarket in northwest Brisbane are being echoed right across southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales as well. So here we've got people lining up for sandbags, not just in their cars, but also they are bringing shopping trolleys, they are bringing carts, they are bringing wheelbarrows, whatever they possibly can to collect sandbags and take it to their homes. People have also been lining up in their cars for quite some time this morning. Some of them have been coming right throughout the night. This is for some their second or third time trying to collect sandbags. Such is the demand. And the reason is, well, new modelling came out yesterday from Brisbane City Council. 20,000 properties are at risk of inundation from storm surges and from flooding. Now, it could be mild inundation in terms of backyards, or it could be inundation of homes and businesses. The Gold Coast could see 6,000 properties at risk. Now, in terms of what's happening here today with the residents and how they're feeling, I spoke to some of them as they were lining up for sandbags. Here's what some of them had to say.
Very nervous, flustered. My husband is not here, so I meet with my two girls, trying to safeguard the house on our own.
Yesterday was about bringing things in, tying things down, making sure that anything loose is not outside.
I don't have a fully enclosed underneath of the house, so just hoping that I can get enough sandbags to protect downstairs a bit. Got 3 kids at home, so they're obviously a little bit nervous. This is our first cyclone.
So, well, a lot of people are preparing their properties. A lot of people are also preparing to leave. A small number of people have been evacuated, but we are seeing evacuation centres being opened up across southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales as well. Also, people are preparing, they're stocking up on water. Supermarket shelves are being stripped bare. Now, this has been happening for a few days now. Water is absolutely flying off the shelves. Supermarkets can't keep up replenishing their stock. Also, non-perishable food. Now, we had some advice yesterday from Unity Water that issued advice for Moreton Bay, Noosa and Sunshine Coast communities, saying for each person 10 litres of water should be stored. That is just in case of power outages. We've also seen the cancellation and the postponement of several sporting events. The opening AFL matches, NRL game has been moved. The Women's PGA Championship has been called off as well. Green Day has also cancelled its concert that was planned for the Gold Coast tonight. But in terms of residents, a lot of them are paying attention to those warnings. Let's bring in Ariana Levy now, because she's at SES headquarters with the latest on what is going on with the warnings from the Bureau. Ari, what's going on there?
Yeah, good morning, Emma. Well, the weather here in southeast Queensland has really shifted, and Tropical Cyclone Alfred is really making its presence known. So there's currently a cyclone warning for a lot of the Queensland coastline. We're talking about an area from Double Point Island, as mentioned before, all the way down to Grafton, also encapsulating Yamba in northern New South Wales. And it's something that authorities were talking about since yesterday, that it really is turning into a 2-state emergency alert, including New South Wales as well as Queensland. Now, as for Tropical Cyclone Alfred's movements, it still remains off the coast of Queensland. It is making that westward track towards the Queensland coast. It's travelling at about 11 kilometres an hour, and right now it's about 430 kilometres east of the Gold Coast. That is quite significant. It has changed, and we're expecting to feel some of the presence of those ongoing significant wind gusts in excess of 100 kilometres per hour as early as this afternoon. Now, there are flood watches that are current all the way from the Maryborough River here in Queensland down to the New South Wales border. There are also a number of catchments that are on high alert for potential flooding, and that includes the Mary River, the Noosa River, as well as Brisbane and Gold Coast rivers and creeks. We've also heard from the Bureau of Meteorology who have indicated that not only is it the concern about the potential coastal crossing, which could come either into Thursday evening or very early Friday morning, but it's also the concern that it could coincide with a potential high tide, which could see storm surges.
That point of crossing is just where the eye of the system is going to move. The impacts will be much more widespread and may impact any areas within those warnings that we do have current. And certainly that tropical cyclone warning stretches from Double Island Point all the way down to areas just to the north of Grafton.
Now, authorities have broken down this event into 3 stages. So we're going to see those hazardous surf conditions that we've seen since the start of this week, as well as coastal erosion at first. Then we're going to see those damaging wind gusts. And right now the Bureau is forecasting anywhere between 100 to 130 kilometres per hour. And then finally, it's going to be those flooding rains. And it's not just going to be when potentially that coastal crossing happens, it's the days and weeks to come afterwards. Now, we've heard from the Premier, David Crisafulli, who has again urged residents to prepare nice and early today.
Today is a really important day for people to do those little things, and the decisions you make today are the most important ones that you'll make during an event. If you take the time to remove those loose items, if you get the chance to remove those overhanging trees, the difference that makes to protect your home during the course of an event, it's a massive, massive difference, and we're asking people to take those steps today.
Now, the Premier, David Crisafulli, as well as the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, are set to meet here at the State Emergency Complex here in Kedron a little bit later this morning. We will provide you on an update on that situation as soon as possible. Emma?
Thanks, Ari. And also we'll be crossing shortly to the acting mayor of the Gold Coast to find out how the Gold Coast is preparing. As I mentioned, 6,000 properties could be at risk there, so we'll get the latest on what's going on with preparations there. Bridget and James.
Thanks, Emma. It is great to have you up there. Well, to Sydney, and a teenage boy from WA has been arrested over an alleged online threat to carry out a mass shooting at a newly opened Sydney mosque. Our reporter Miles Holbrook-Walker is at Edmondson Park for us this morning. Miles, g'day. Just take us through what we can say about this incident.
Well, James, a highly concerning event occurring when a police investigation was launched just yesterday after it emerged online comments that a 16-year-old boy allegedly made from Western Australia via Instagram that he would Christchurch 2.0 this joint. This joint he's referring to, the Masjid al-Bayt al-Islami Mosque. Now, this mosque had just been opened on Friday. It was a time of tremendous excitement. The holy month of Ramadan had begun. Prayers were in full flight here throughout the weekend and had continued to do so. And then this concerning statement made online and prompting a police investigation. Now, a 16-year-old boy has been arrested in Western Australia. He has not yet been charged, but those are the comments that we mentioned earlier, that reference, an apparent reference to the Christchurch mass shooting in 2019 carried out by an Australian terrorist who killed 51 people when he opened fire at a mosque in Christchurch almost 6 years ago to the day. It was in March 2019 that occurred, and yet again we've seen real concern since from both leaders, Muslim and non-Muslim, including of course the Prime Minister of Australia, the highest office in the land, where he called these incidents abhorrent and Islamophobic, which he's also gone on to say the authorities have my full support as they investigate this matter. Those responsible must face the full force of the law. Racism and Islamophobia will not be tolerated. Now, earlier this morning, before the sun rose, Fajr pre-dawn prayers were taking place, a very important series of prayers for people during the holy month of Ramadan. And it was there that we saw hundreds turn up here, James, unperturbed and undeterred to practice their faith. We spoke to them about how they're feeling.
I think the one might be the government or police has already look after the mosque. Yeah, thank you.
Are you feeling safer as well now?
Yes, very safe. Thank you.
And of course, we also heard from leadership within the mosque as well, from the Australian Islamic House. Omar Hussain Agha as well spoke about just the feeling of Islamophobia within the community, not just from this alleged online threat, but other incidents that have taken place throughout the last couple of months, and really wanting to see authorities take this seriously as well. Here's Omar Hussain Agha.
Absolutely. Ramadan is a month of reflection, and we would like everybody to feel, spiritually strong. And we just opened the mosque maybe 2-3 days ago, and this to happen to us, it's actually it was a shock to.
Now, police from New South Wales under Strike Force Pearl continue their investigations to this matter. No one has been charged. A short time ago, we did see one police car come, speak to a few people here at the mosque, and then has just left about 5 or so minutes ago. There were police here overnight, as well as additional security privately, as well as volunteer forces to ensure that there is safety here at this mosque. Now, the current line from police is that there is no ongoing or present threat here at Edmondson Park, but that will be something that will be monitored, and of course, a police investigation continues into this incident, James.
All right, Miles, thank you.
Let's get some more on our other top stories now. Here's Charles.
Thank you, Bridget. Arab leaders have convened at an emergency summit in Egypt's capital to discuss a reconstruction plan for Gaza. Egypt, Jordan and Gulf Arab states have been consulting for weeks over an alternative to US President Donald Trump's proposal to take over Gaza and remove its residents so the US can develop it. Speaking at the Cairo meeting, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said he welcomed an Egyptian plan to rebuild Gaza, which wouldn't involve displacing Palestinian residents, and he's urging the US president to support it. Japan is fighting its biggest wildfire in decades, with authorities saying the blaze has burned through more than 2,000 hectares of forest so far. The forest blaze in Ofonatsu has killed at least one person and has forced more than 4,000 people to evacuate. Authorities say more than 2,000 troops and firefighters have been deployed from across the country. A wine region east of Adelaide is battling water shortages, with residents having to access temporary water collection points from today. Staffed by SA Water, the government says the user pay stations at Woodside, Brukanga and Sandergrove in the Adelaide Hills have been set up to help relieve demand on local water carters. But residents will still need to monitor and manage their personal supplies. The federal government will spend $20 million to increase the production of IV fluids in Australia amid a global shortage. Baxter Healthcare, which is the only manufacturer in the country that produces the fluids, will match the funding to expand its facility in Western Sydney. It's expected to produce 80 million units of IV fluid a year by 2027. That's up 60 million a year currently. Health Minister Mark Butler says the expansion of the facility will mean more jobs and better supply of the critical medicine. Western Australia's Premier Roger Cook has taken a swipe at US Vice President JD Vance, branding him a knob during a candid moment at business breakfast in Perth. His comment came during a rapid-fire question round when he was asked to complete the sentence, JD Vance is a... After the exchange, which comes just days out from the state election, former Premier Mark McGowan backed the remark.
I thought Roger was entirely accurate.
But was it loose politics? Was it loose lips?
No, honestly, how politically correct are you? I just think, he answered the question honestly. He is.
Serbia's parliament has been thrown into chaos after smoke bombs erupted and flares were lit inside a chamber with politicians. Dramatic Vision shows opposition members unfurling a banner with the words "Serbia is rising" to bring down a regime in apparent support of students protesting outside. At least 3 lawmakers have been injured, including a pregnant woman.